Okay, forget it. That is way too long. Hey, welcome to Omnibros Live. I'm OmniDog, and we're joined, as usual, by a comics guy, Lou. How you do, Lou?
Hey, man. Happy Thursday, everybody.
Happy Thursday, and we have a fan favorite. He's a fan himself. He's been on the air with T-Lar Blunt and myself to talk about toys, and this is Rick Nelson. How's it going, buddy?
Good. Did everyone get their check so I could make it on the show tonight?
Yeah, thanks. It's going right into my daughter's 401k to make sure she doesn't come back. So tonight, yeah, I have to run the board, so I have to do all the IST talk. We've got lots of people. NFL dude, James, William Lee, good evening. Good evening. Mr. Awesome. Hello, people of Earth from the Kryptonian. Okay, we're right here. Leslie Ann Sales. Hello, beautiful humans. That has to be a guy, right? No girl's going to call us beautiful humans. We're getting catfish there, I'm sure. Unless you're really a girl, Leslie, and then I apologize. So first, let's talk. Okay, this is the, there we go. InStockTrades.com, where you can get your collected editions up to 65% off on certain books. Loyalty discounts add 2% to that. At the end of every month, we give away, excuse me, a $50 gift card, courtesy of InStock Trades. And it's a gift card that's you use at InStockTrades.com. $50 or more in an order in the United States gets you free shipping. Fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging. That's InStockTrades.com. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Maybe I can do this. I'll animate this guy. Here's his music. He's really happy. And Lou says that's his wife feels that's the best part of the show when I play the mouth harp.
It is. It's the only part she sticks around for. And then she's like, I'm done.
Did you play the mouth harp? Okay, I'm out.
I don't know what's catchier, the intro music or the mouth harp. It's neck and neck.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I accidentally hit the long intro. There's like a 30-second intro that's much easier on everybody. So anyway, tonight we're going to do a discussion of Captain America by Ed Brubaker, and if we have time, get to our books that we're most excited for this year, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Can't believe it. So Lou,
Mm-hmm.
you have been alongside, as I read. You read it a long time ago, I'm guessing, but you have a really good memory. All the Captain America Omnis from Brubaker. I need to move.
Yeah. So were you guys around when Brubaker started taking over Captain America and the Winter Soldier concept first came around?
This is when, in the mid-2000s?
It was in the mid-2000s. This was pre-Civil War, so it was around the mid-2000s.
I was not around. I started back into buying books around 2008, but it was mostly DC. And then around 2010, Third Eye Comics started showing me Omnis and just a few collected editions, things like that, blah, blah, blah. And then 2012 is when I started buying Omnis a lot. So, or 2000, somewhere in there. So I was not aware of it. And this was one that this was one they did not recommend, and I'm betting because it wasn't in stock. The first one, I think there was only 2 at the time, and they were out of print like almost as soon as they were
Yeah, they were
released.
out of print for a while.
Yeah.
I just started getting back into comics, I think, as this run was ending, because I don't even know what started. I think Snyder and Capullo's Batman run like got me like back into comics, and then I started like researching like things that I'd missed in the past 10 years. And Brubaker's run was just ending, and Remender was coming on to America. So it's like right when Marvel Now was starting to happen. So I didn't read it until like December of last year. So I just read this. It'd been sitting on my shelf forever to read, but it was always one that I knew that I like, a run that I wanted to read.
Okay. Because I vividly remember what the vibe was like at that time, where Brubaker was, I want to say he had already started his run on Daredevil, or he was just about to. It was around that time, and he was kind of the new hotness at the time. It was that old school group of, you had Bendis, Rucka, Brubaker. Aaron was not in the discussion at that time. Aaron came a few years later, if I remember correctly. But Brubaker coming on to Captain America, and then the concept of Winter Soldier first being introduced, and that whole mystery of who is Winter Soldier.
Mm.
And I love the fact that the overall consensus, thank God the man didn't have Twitter at the time, because
Mephisto.
thank God he didn't have Twitter at the time, because the overall consensus was, how can you bring back Bucky? You don't bring back Bucky. Now it's common because we've had the Winter Soldier for so long, but the mindset for a while was, there are 2 people you don't bring back. It's Uncle Ben and Bucky Barnes. They stay dead no matter what.
Mm.
And I remember it being a very contentious thing where people were thinking, Jesus, he's actually doing it. He's bringing back Bucky. I don't know how I feel about this. And then those first few issues of Winter Soldier came out, when you understand the concept of what Ed Brubaker was doing, where he was taking apart the idea of, why would Captain America have a child soldier in a war zone? Because Bucky was 10, 11, something like that in the original series. I think they aged him up a little. Brubaker aged him up.
Yeah, I think they aged him up in this run. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit, but not much.
Because he was originally like a Cap super fan, right? And then like Cap took him on as like a sidekick, and like that was kind of
after he kept getting in fights growing up in boot camp or whatever. Yeah, but he didn't have any Bucky didn't have any superpowers in the World War II, but he would kill, whereas Cap, well, I guess Cap, he in the flashbacks, which is one thing that this book does well, is work around flashbacks, because you got a lot of flashbacks, and that helps inform the reader as to, as Lou said, why he took a child into a war zone, like an incredibly deadly war area, which World War II was. But I mean, Bucky had no problem killing.
No.
Yeah, in World War II.
And that's the thing. Bucky had no problem killing, and right off the bat, it was kind of a new direction for the character, because before that, if I'm remembering right, Bucky was always the G Willikers, that like, innocent, kind of really nice kid that all the little kids can. And no, this dude killed people in World War II, and it was kind of a front, that look of like the innocent side of him and stuff like that. And it was a brilliant concept just from the get. And then you start getting into the modern day stuff, where he starts playing around with the concept of the Winter Soldier, which is really, I love this run. I just don't think, for me personally, he ever topped the brilliant concept of Winter Soldier. And it's an amazing run.
Oh, you mean after the introduction of Winter Soldier,
yes,
he never topped that?
For me.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Because it's such a brilliant and bold move that everything else he does is as amazing as it is. I'm not downplaying it. It's a legendary run. Just does not top that initial just, wow, he actually pulled it off.
Yeah, I feel the first three Omnis, what is it? Just Captain America by Brubaker, Death of, and Captain America Lives. Like for me, those I thought were all really good. I liked seeing like Bucky take over the Captain America role, and but still dealing with like his past. And not that I didn't like the trial of the Winter Soldier and I forget what the return of the Winter Soldier,
Return,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, like they were good, but I feel like Brubaker just kind of like run out of steam, and he was just trying to like prolong it a little bit more. Where I feel like the first three up till Captain America Lives and uh, Steve Rogers coming back, I felt like that was almost could have been a perfect cap off, but they probably it was so popular. I imagine at the time that they were like, oh, we got to keep this going for a little bit, and so they kind of just strung it out.
Well, I don't know how you could top Winter Soldier because it's turned out to be, I mean, it's turned out to be such an amazing character that he created. I think he did a good job just keeping us interested in that character throughout the run, because Bucky's not only got shadows of his Winter Soldier in him, but he's also reliving World War II at the same time. And so it deals with a lot of mental illness and a lot of why he's attracted to Black Widow, because she went through the same thing and somehow seemed to shake it off. Not shake it off, but overcome it rather. And why they are so perfect together in this run. I get what you're saying, Lou, but I also feel like it's like you create Wolverine, and how do you top that? Well, you created Wolverine. I mean, you should go home and take a nap now and just don't do anything else the rest of your life, because you've created Wolverine. So he created Winter Soldier, and I mean, almost everybody, I think, feels like that was the strongest Marvel movie,
I
the
do.
Winter Soldier.
I do.
If it's not your favorite, it's in just about everybody's top three. And to have I think that sort of lends a legitimacy to the creation of the character, how important he is to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how important he became, just how he was brought back and how important he became. So I get what you're saying, but I'm also not sure how you would top that creation of him. I just think it was an amazing thing that he kept us interested in the Winter Soldier when it could have gotten old fast.
Yeah.
With his constantly dealing with the Red Skull, and freaking Arnim Zola is the stupidest villain ever. And I've got a lot of, I don't have an action figure of him, but I totally would get it because he's ridiculous. And then I can't think of the other guy.
Tormund, Dr. Faustus with the massive red beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Faustus was cool, but then there's some other guy whose consciousness can't be killed, and he hides out in Arnim Zola for a while or something. I just like, what is Arnim Zola anyways? Like a receptacle for the bad guy's conscience. Whenever they die, they just, oh, where's Arnim Zola? Oh, there he is. We can still live. And they go get trapped in Zola's suit.
Mm-hmm.
But I also liked how how Brubaker dealt with what Cap went through, starting to remember all the bad things that happened to those two near the end of World War II.
Mm-hmm.
How Cap was tortured by that happening. What happened to Bucky, like the torture at the hands of Baron Zemo, and just the way he died. They relived that accident, the way he died, the plane,
right,
throughout the whole series, but kept it interesting. I wasn't like, oh, here's the plane again. It always played into organically what he was trying to say.
Right. It's a really good look at what Steve and what Bucky went through, because there are a bunch of flashbacks throughout this run, and a lot of them are in dream sequences or no, you know, I can't really recall a writer for Cap that delved really into what the psyche of the character must be like, because they went through World War II. It wasn't daisies and sunflowers, and I know today we tend to romanticize that time period
Right. You're
because
right.
we do. We tend to romanticize that time period, and we tend to think of Vietnam as the worst thing, but World War II was hell for a lot of soldiers. If you look at several documentaries and read books and stuff like that of what the soldiers went through, and clearly Vietnam was a disaster as well. But if you look at that time period, World War II wasn't this romanticized thing that we have in pop culture made it out to be. And I like that Brubaker explores that side of Bucky and that side of Steve and goes, look, these guys, they went through some shit. They went through some trauma together. And he doesn't outright say it, but it's clear there's some PTS that's involved in with both characters. And I think in that sense, they're brothers. They're brothers because they were in that war together and they worked together.
And even that continues with, like Jess was saying, with Black Widow, and you find out about the relationship that they had, during that lost period when he was a Winter Soldier, and they kind of start digging into that a little bit more. And it's if I remember correctly, so does Black Widow forget the Winter Soldier at the end of Brubaker's run, or vice? Like, does she forget their relationship? I feel like something happened where they.
Oh yeah, that got taken from him.
Right. So like
yeah, you're right. I forget now what happened, but somebody took her memory away, and that's all he had. And so he's at the very at the very end. Yeah, he doesn't have anything because he doesn't even have Natasha.
Right. Which, like, when I was reading it, was like I kind of, I felt it was disappointing because you could see this guy trying to, like, felt that like them together, he was working through a lot of the things from his past, and much like Steve Rogers does when he comes back out of the ice and like starts acclimating in. I mean, I kind of always felt that it was like a little easier for him because he went right into the Avengers and all that thing, and he always had someone around him. Whereas like Bucky comes back and he gets his memories back, and he has to deal with, remembering everything he did as a Winter Soldier and not really having anyone that can relate to it, I guess. I know Steve can a little bit, but Black Widow especially, because she knew his history, and she really was like someone that went through those dark moments with him and could really like be a shoulder to lean on, and someone that could like truly understand him. So it was kind of a bummer when she lost that memory, and he kind of lost that piece of him, that lifeline.
Yeah. I also kind of jumping back to the movie thing. I really love the fact that the movie, they took it a step further and they said no, he was experimented on, and that he's also like a superhuman. Because what's different, that's a key thing, is that I think a lot of people when they read this run, they're gonna go, he's just a regular guy. Bucky's not superpowered in this run. He's literally just a regular dude, like the Punisher or anything like that. And I really like that Bucky comments on that. You get his internal dialogue a lot throughout this run where he's like, man, I'm not as fast as Steve, or I'm not as good as him in certain aspects, but I'm still a badass. And in certain ways, I like that about him because he has to try harder. He has to really work at it, where Steve could clear out a room really easily. You see that Bucky struggles sometimes, and it's really cool to see those moments. And it's the little touches that I really like about that. My biggest gripe about this is that this run in general, I think it's clear Brubaker was pushed by editorial to keep it going. And Jess, you read Jason Latour's story with Winter Soldier, where he was the one that technically ended Brubaker's run.
Right.
Because it goes volumes 1, 2, and 3, And then I think if I remember right, Brubaker just had a falling out with Marvel and was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And it was Latour that came in and finished that final volume of Winter Soldier. So my biggest gripe with this is that, and I think they bring back Steve way too soon. It's like Bucky gets the mantle, and 3 weeks later, Steve is back. They do it way too quick. I really hated that when I was reading this run.
Well,
Yeah, next Imagine not at
Yeah.
818.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. To me, the fundamental and all too common problem with the run is simply that Brubaker was forced by editorial to rush Steve's return to coincide Captain America, the first Avengers release, rather than being allowed to carry out his original plans for Bucky to remain as Cap for 3 to 4 years and the book to remain largely independent from Marvel events.
Yeah.
That is one thing that did happen. That's a good point to jump on, is that well, you sort of had to get Civil War in there because Cap was such a big part of Civil War.
Right.
But then it still gets nicked by Fear itself. And I don't think it got hit by any other events. I'm trying to think. I think Civil War I understood enough of.
Siege?
What was it? Siege?
Did Siege take place during that?
Yeah. I don't remember.
I just got done with it. I can't remember. Is Siege the Norman Osborn taking over the Avengers?
Yeah, and like dealing with like Asgard over Oklahoma, I believe, right?
Yeah, I thought that happened afterwards. Wasn't that Aaron's run or did he just take that over where Asgard was over Oklahoma? Siege led into that. Siege is something I've tried to avoid because it's so much Norman Osborn.
Yeah, I haven't read it either. I'm just guessing. I thought it took place at the end, but they don't really mention it in the run if it does.
Yeah, you might be right about that. So I understand that. Oh, the mad bombs. Yeah. And that, okay. The Wake of Fear itself. Okay. So there is some supplemental reading that goes along with this. That Lou pointed out one thing that I found extremely helpful, and that is Jason Latour's, as he said, what is it, Electric Ghost, the name of the 4th book?
It's largely out of print right now, so for those of you out there that want this physically, good luck.
Here's very good plus condition saying came here for Rick Nelson.
It's largely out of print right now. I believe the book was called Electric Ghost. I think that's what it was. It's volume 4 of Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And Latour comes in and he wraps up that story actually really well. I was impressed with just how well he was able to tie up what he had to tie up.
Yeah, you told me about it Monday night, and I read it Monday right after the show. And because this was all fresh in my mind, which is why I have to do my review tomorrow, or I'm going to have to reread the whole thing. Came for Rick Nelson, stayed for Rick Nelson. And that is that guy from Fair to Good Condition. Supplemental reading. So yeah, there's that book that ties it up. There's this book by Brubaker and Steve Epting called The Marvels Project, which is about the creation of when is the birth of the Marvel Universe through the eyes of one of its own Golden Age heroes. This is where they have an eyes on the ground hero in the United States who's like a costumed hero with no real powers, and I'm blocking on what his name is. Blah blah blah. What is his name? The Dashing Angel. Okay, wait a minute. Anyway, my point is, this is a good book to either read before the first book or after the first book, because it gives you so much information on, because they refer to the invaders a lot throughout this whole run. and that's Namor and the original human android Torch, and Toro, the kid that catches fire. And the original invaders play out heavily throughout this whole series, especially in the early books. And this gives you an idea of what it was like for the invaders and for America at the time. And it gives you a lot of good back matter into the mindset and of these heroes as you see them in Brubaker's run. And it also gives you an idea of what they had to go through together and against each other, and how they formed a cohesive fighting unit. And it helps inform the first book especially. And then the second book, The Death of Captain America, there's a book called Fallen Sun, which is 5 heroes tell their kind of getting their takes on the death of Captain America, where they call him Fallen Sun. And so it's like Spider-Woman, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Wolverine, like that. And it's I think this can be read after The Death of Captain America, because spoiler alert, Cap gets killed in the first book. This is a book called The Death of Captain America. So just so you know, Captain America gets killed. And Fallen Sun. I thought the killing of Cap was really well handled. I never saw it coming. What how he was actually killed. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't read this yet. But it's more than an assassin from 1,000 yards away taking him out on the courthouse steps as he gives himself up for civil war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a real big moment when it did happen, and it made the news. Like, the news was talking about Marvel killed Captain America, at the mainstream media and stuff like that. And I remember Stephen Colbert even got a Captain America shield out of it. It was gifted to him from Marvel or whatever.
Yeah, it's either in the back matter of Death of or the first book. But it covers what you're saying, how with copies of newspaper articles and Stephen Colbert and everything, about all the coverage it got.
It was huge. It was a very big thing when it happened. But kind of tying it back into the Civil War thing, I think Civil War, looking back on it, was one of the best things that Marvel did, and also one of the worst things that Marvel did. And I swear I'm going to bring this back to the Captain America stuff, because after Civil War, what it was Marvel kept trying to create that lightning in a bottle again. And we kept getting events, and we kept getting event after event after event, and they just could not catch what it was that was special about Civil War. And it ended up, all those events tied into all these runs, and then that slowed down the runs, and you had all these stupid tie-in issues that really didn't matter. And I think Brubaker's Captain America was subject to that as well, because it's Captain America. He's going to be involved in a lot of this stuff. He's a central figure to a lot of it. And one of the things that I had a huge problem with Civil War is you have Brubaker, who's writing this really awesome introspective look at the character. And then you have Mark Millar, who I enjoy Mark Millar's writing, but it was 2 different characters. It felt like 2 different characters were being written. Mark Millar's Captain America is nothing like Brubaker's Captain America. So it's a bit jarring, because you have to read Civil War to get the full picture of what's going on with Cap.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Brubaker almost felt like he was like, fuck that. I'm not writing the way he does it. And it's almost 2 different characters. It throws me off every time I go through a reread of it.
Of Civil War or Brubaker, or both?
Both, because they tie in so heavily.
Yeah.
I try to just ignore Civil War and just focus on the Brubaker Cap. Because, like, if it had taken place at a different time, you could say, okay, he's a little different. But when they're running concurrently, It just doesn't. It's very jarring and doesn't make any sense.
Mm-mm. No, it doesn't. The character's actions just don't jive well. And I remember the first time I read that run, thinking this does not work. These two characters could not be the more polar opposite of how they're being written.
And so,
How do you? Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, how do you feel about how Brubaker wrote the Civil War storyline and Tony in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
It's been so long, Jess. I don't remember it, to be honest with you.
Okay, it was good.
It was good?
Yeah. I'll give you a hint. It worked.
Okay.
Yeah, because Tony was completely in over his head. And I think he arrogantly went in. Just by what I read in Captain America, because I haven't read the other Civil War tie-ins that have to do with Tony running S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
But he was in over his head with S.H.I.E.L.D. and it took him a while to admit it. And I think it's easy to make Tony arrogant and have him take a fall. But I also think the way he finally admits he's in over his head and he lets the people who should lets the more experienced people that he surrounded himself with influence him more.
Yeah, and there's that issue where Tony has to deliver that letter to Bucky, basically where Steve is saying, I want you, like, there's no one else that should take the mantle. I want you to take it over. If I'm gone, I want you to take it over. And like, I feel like Brubaker does a really good job of kind of showing you, and not just him, but I don't know if it was Epting who was the artist on that one or Michael Lark, but you can kind of even like see it in like the facial drawings, just like how you can tell like the job is burdening Tony. Like he made a mistake, and Steve having left, like it just, all of it kind of just like coalesces for him. And he's like, look, I mean, like with most stories, they get into a battle and kind of then talk it out. But you can just see he's like, no, like he wants this for you. The shield's going to you. You got to take it over.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just tell he's done with all of like the stuff, like the BS that comes with running S.H.I.E.L.D. and all like the bureaucracy and stuff like that. And all the decisions that happened during Civil War just really are just settling on him. I think he's drinking again, right? At that point, Tony?
I
maybe not.
Pretty sure he fights it off in this run.
Yeah.
Because it's implied though, right?
I don't know. I'll go back over that because I feel like he fought it off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of sensitive to that, but not so much that that's all I focus on with Iron Man. But I think you
would have noticed that.
It would have made more of a mark on me if he had been drinking again. But one thing I wanted to say was the burden of Captain America on Bucky throughout. First of all, who names somebody Bucky? Just Bucky. And Black Widow calls him James all the time. And everybody else calls him Bucky. But and all the people that know him well call him James. But the burden, it's like a burden. He doesn't necessarily want to be Captain America. He's just doing it because Cap wanted him to do it. And he looked up to Cap. But it's clear, this is one thing that kept it interesting, is that Brubaker didn't have Bucky go, yay, S.H.I.E.L.D., yay for the S.H.I.E.L.D., I can't wait to be Cap. It was like a real burden on him, and he struggles with it throughout the run, and we get other Captain Americas and other Buckys that I didn't even know existed were out there. Those there were like 10 Captain Americas in these books, and you're like, whoa, wait, when did that happen? And so I didn't read Marvel in the 60s, so I can't tell you about or 50s, or I don't know about those Captain Americas. I just assumed that Brubaker made them up, but I mean, they're for purposes of this run, but I don't know my Marvel history well enough to know that in 68 or something, there was a fake somebody that took over the Shield for purposes of helping America while Steve was on the moon or something. I don't know, whatever it is. Steve was dead again. I don't know.
And then there was a replacement Bucky, Jack Monroe,
right,
who had received a version of the super soldier serum, but it was like basically killing him. And that's like a big part of the first arc, when the story first starts, and kind of his dealings with the Winter Soldier and what happens there in terms of where his life is. I mean, he's also dealing with a lot of PTSD as well.
Yeah.
He's Brubaker's pulling from all the history in this run.
Okay.
And I can see, because I even remember that when I was reading the run, going, who the fuck is this guy? Like, there were more. I had the same thought. They're like, there were more Buckies, there were more Caps at the time. And throughout history, it's they keep trying to want to capture in the Marvel universe to capture that lightning bottle. Maybe we'll get it right this time. Maybe we'll create the right Captain America again this time. And they just can never get it right. So what we've got is all these failures and stuff like that. There was, I don't know if it's canon, but he was in Falcon and Winter Soldier, the Black Captain America. But I don't know
Elijah
if we ever
Bradley.
made that canon though in the Marvel comic universe.
There's a series that comes after. I think it's called Red, White, and Black.
Yeah.
I think it's after Brubaker's run.
Okay.
And that dealt with an African American Captain America?
Yeah, Elijah Bradley. So in the show, he's in it as an older man, and he kind of talks.
Oh, right. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what that's what the reference to was in the TV show Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they use it to great effect in that show. That was I didn't care too much for Falcon and Winter Soldier. That was one of the best moments for me was them using Bradley, and I was like, wow, this actually works. It's a statement on what that would be like to be a Captain America, but he was black during that time period.
During a time period where he absolutely did not get accepted.
Exactly.
I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier, but that's a different discussion. But you're right. They use that to really great effect. And so is it canon? This is where I need poor plus condition comics to tell me Marvel history. Is it canon, or did Brubaker come up with that Elijah Bradley as the one of the first two, but because he was black, he wasn't accepted? Where did that first come out? Where was that first written?
I think that's a post Brubaker thing.
That's a post Brubaker thing. Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's well, no, it said there was a series. The series came out in 2003. It was Truth, Red, White, and Black.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh, so it's pre. Okay.
Yeah, but they don't mention him in the Brubaker story.
Right. Okay. So they pull from then Red, White, and Black into the Winter Soldier TV show.
Yeah.
So he was not a character. Okay, that appeared in. He wasn't one of the Captain Americas that appeared in Brubaker's run, because there was a couple of not pretenders but government sanctioned substitutes for the two of them.
Hey, here's a bit of a sidebar. How did you guys feel about? Because I know that a lot of people wanted in the MCU Bucky to take on the mantle, but it ended up being Falcon. How'd you guys feel about Falcon being the one that took on that mantle?
For me, it seemed the most natural. I always got the sense in the movies. I mean, and then I guess really tying back to what Jess was just saying about in the comics, where Bucky or the Winter Soldier not really wanting to take the shield, but just taking it because he idolized, and was so close to Steve. Whereas in the movies, I just felt that it built up Sam to like be the natural successor to take on the Shield. I never got the sense that Bucky wants it in the movies. Like he's just happy coming to terms with the life that he had and kind of rehabilitating himself. Whereas Sam, like, going back to the Winter Soldier and his job as a grief counselor and helping people deal with the PTSD. And I know you said you didn't really care for the show, but I liked how it ended, where he wasn't really fighting; he was talking about the problems, and I think that's why he made a good choice to take it over and kind of be the new voice or the new bearer of the shield. Where I think Bucky's like he's ready to be there to support him, and kind of that seems like a natural place for him.
Oh, and NFLD said the book Truth is finally getting reprinted next month. So I definitely want to read that. To answer your question, it felt organic and natural for Falcon to get it. When they gave it to the guy in the show that looked like the grandpa from Up, I was really hot under the collar, and I don't think I think that I can't think of the actor's name who plays Falcon right now, but
Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie.
Yeah. He handled it so coolly, his disappointment in it, because that was a huge betrayal of him. I feel like he almost underplayed it. I feel like anybody experiencing that amount of betrayal would have gone out and just tore up the countryside or something. But I guess that's why he's such a cool character, and cool, like smooth, that he took that betrayal and eventually worked it to his advantage. The TV show, it worked out, but what? Oh, U.S. Agent is who that guy is. He going to be getting his own show now? U.S. Agent?
No.
I feel like they're setting up for like a Thunderbolts, Dark Avengers type thing, because you see Elaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character,
right?
DeFontaine, like she's recruiting. At the end of Black Widow, she recruits Yelena. The Winter Soldier, she's recruiting U.S. Agent. So it's almost like a darker reverse Nick Fury from.
Oh, that's interesting.
Movies. That's my guess.
Yeah. It seems like this. Now we're kind of diving into the MCU stuff, but it seems
fine.
like
we can be done with the run. Let's change to the MCU.
It seems like the last few years, this last phase of MCU has just been set up. Everything they've been doing is setting up, and I could see why a lot of fans have an issue with it, because like all forms of great storytelling, you have to build up to those climactic moments, and this is what this is. This is the downslope after we got through Infinity War and Endgame, and now they're building up for whatever next big thing it'll be. Whatever happens, it could be, hell, for all we know, it could be another Annihilation. They could be setting up Annihilus, and we don't know yet.
I know, Lou, you've said this on previous shows about Brubaker, and talking about how he didn't get really any compensation for the movies. It's honestly astounding that he didn't get more recognition, because even and the artists that participated in the books, because just if you look at the aesthetics from the book, that's like directly translated to the Winter Soldier. I'd even say Civil War specifically, like just the overall feel and aesthetic was almost directly translated. Yeah, the stories aren't exactly the same, but the core of it and the look of it, it clearly came from this run.
Yeah. The thing is, so people can say Brubaker didn't create Bucky, but he kind of did, because the Bucky that's been used for the past 20 years almost has been Brubaker's iteration of it. Before that, it was the G. Willikers kind of Bucky. You know, it was that kind of character. And I think Brubaker deserves way more recognition than he gets for basically creating Bucky. He created this iteration of Bucky, the Winter Soldier. That's his. And it sucks that he got more money for that stupid cameo than he has for all the Winter Soldier stuff that Marvel has been putting out the last few years.
What cameo?
He's in Winter Soldier.
Oh, he got more money for the cameo in Winter Soldier than for his writing of Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still liken it to the creation of Wolverine. I mean, there aren't volumes and volumes of Winter Soldier, but it's still a big creation of a big character that, as Lou says, has lasted since the early 2000s. And bitching and moaning about what Brubaker didn't get isn't going to help it, but he totally did get jobbed since he created that character.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that DC in their movies is so much more. They give so much more recognition and money to writers. I think didn't Jim Starlin say he got more money for the appearance of Steppenwolf in Justice League than all of the Thanos appearances and everything that he also created, and Drax and all these other creators he created, where he got bupkis, but then this knockoff Steppenwolf character, he gets all this money and recognition and stuff in the movies. And it's funny that DC, after having shafted Siegel and Schuster for 50 years or however long it was, 40 years, from the creation of Superman, that they're the ones that step up and pay the most dosh in a movie.
Maybe they pay him extra because they know the movies won't be that great, so they're just giving him some sympathy money.
Lou, I don't think you answered who you felt deserved the shield, Falcon or Bucky. Did you say? I don't think you did.
I mean, logically, in the MCU universe, it's got to be Falcon. I know a lot of people are disappointed that it wasn't Bucky, but Bucky's a friggin' terrorist. Forget that whole situation in Wakanda.
Right.
And if we're taking the route where the MCU takes place in a hyper-realistic world that we would live in, and all these characters would be around, and because that's kind of where they go with it, it wouldn't work. Bucky wouldn't work as the guy who should handle the mantle of Captain America, because Jesus, it'd be all over the news. It'd be all over it'd be everywhere. Like you're taking a former Russian spy terrorist, and you're giving him the shield to Captain America, which, I mean, there's a story to be told there, but it makes more sense for Falcon to get it.
Yeah. Let's see. I feel like that was, they talked about that Captain, his appearance. Now I'm going to need to go over this again before I make any kind of video to get my Captain America straight, because Steve and Bucky were like interchanging there for a bunch of times, it felt like, and they brought in Fallout Boy or whatever, and Look Out Radioactive Man, and
Real Acid.
Real Acid. You are my new Fallout Boy. That's what I'd be saying if you were only 4 inches taller.
The goggles, they do nothing. That's one of my favorite bits in The Simpsons. That's in the Frogurt. The
Frogurt. It also comes with a curse.
That's bad.
Yeah, well, Joe says he killed Howard Stark. It could never be him. And Joe also said that in the movies Bucky had a lot to answer for, and Sam was tried and true. So I'm happy with Cap handing it off to Falcon. I'm happy with the way it played out in the TV show. That I think it's great. And so
at the same time, a black Captain America would upset so many people on Fox News. I would love to see that. This Tucker Carlson losing his shit on the 7 o'clock news about a Black Captain America.
If it's released as a movie with Black Captain America, or just if it was in real life,
both.
Any iteration.
Well, didn't a lot of people get triggered by Nick Spencer's run with Sam Wilson? Like they had the two runs going concurrently. There was Captain America Sam Wilson and Captain America Steve Rogers, which I mean, it basically was like watching Fox News.
It was a big thing. That was a real big thing, and that was also the time. Jesus, the Hail Hydra stuff. Do you remember that?
Right.
When people lost their minds about the Hail Hydra stuff, like, as it's comics. Relax, okay?
Well, I don't know this problem. What was the problem with Hail Hydra? I mean, other than it's always been Hail Hydra. What did they say? It sounded too much like a Nazi salute or something?
I couldn't tell you. There was so much nonsensical bitching online at that time. I couldn't tell you what it was.
Was this about when Cap was a Hydra agent or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't read that storyline, so I don't know.
I just finished it, so I did like a big Cap reading, starting with this all the way basically through. I haven't read the most recent run by Coates, but I didn't understand it when I was reading the story because I'm sure everyone knows, or spoiler alert, you know why he's saying it because he's been messed up by the cosmic cube. So it's not like it's not really the real Steve Rogers. So like it is and it isn't. It's kind of complicated to say, but basically in issue 1, you know that he's being affected by the cosmic cube in some way, and someone's changed him. So it's not like you're taking 80 years of history. It's just kind of there's a larger commentary, I think, on the change, but like Lou said, it's comics. You basically know right away they're gonna do this story, and probably by the end of it, he's gonna be back to normal, and all of this will have just been, timey-wimey, cosmic cubey.
Yeah, the cosmic cube is what Steve uses to restore Bucky's memories, but it doesn't wipe out. It brings back his good memories, but doesn't wipe out his memories of what he has done.
Right.
So he's, which I think is good. You don't want that burden to go away. He does have a lot to make up for, but you can see how he's extremely conflicted, and I don't want to say he's mentally ill, but you can see how he's challenged in his mind. Once Steve gives him back his mind, he's still got all these atrocities that he committed. Even though he was brainwashed, he still did them, and he's owning up to it.
Yeah. I love the exploration of legacy and what it means to pick up the shield and stuff like that. And I think that's one thing that Marvel doesn't do as well as DC, is the whole concept of legacy and who picks up the mantle afterwards. I mean, Jesus Christ, Bruce gives up the mantle to Batman every other month at this point. So it's really cool that they were able to pull this off, because I can only think of a few characters that it's really worked, really worked, like very well in the Marvel stuff, and that Brubaker, Bucky taking the mantle worked. Miles Morales, I think, really worked because of that Ultimate Spider-Man run and what ended up happening there. I struggle to think of a few other characters, but Kate Bishop works. That story works.
I will
and the
say,
great thing about
I'll speak up for my girl X-23 in All New Wolverine.
Yeah. All New Wolverine is amazing.
That's a great run. And I think overall DC does it better because you can look at the Green Lantern stuff, the Hour Man stuff. Fucking Hour Man. The Hour Man stuff works. And that was the JSA.
I don't know that I ever thought I'd be in a conversation with you where you talked about Hour Man.
Hey, Jeff Johns wrote a badass Hour Man story in that JSA run.
Yeah, you're right.
I've never read it, but isn't Starman, that whole run by James Robinson, like really about like legacy? Because
we don't talk about that here.
No. Oh, shut up. Lou's not the one to talk to about Starman. Yeah. I'm gonna get okay. Is it time for you to get off the air now? Get off the air.
Well,
Oh
even
my goodness.
John Kent as the new Superman,
Mm-hmm.
which has been pretty good so far.
I think Jane Foster worked as Thor. I think that well now we're working our way back to that controversy where the problem was not what Marvel did, but how they did it. It looked like instead it didn't seem like, or it happened all at once when the legacy heroes replaced they replaced the heroes in Marvel,
Right.
and I think that it all happened too fast, and I felt like the fans must have felt I didn't care because I don't know anything outside my bubble, so I don't know why people get upset. But my only thought is that it probably seemed like it all happened at once, and even though it's interesting to have that kind of change, I think it happened too fast, and even though I liked I liked those books because they were different and interesting.
Yeah.
You know, if X-23, if All New Wolverine sucked, then yeah, I wouldn't dig it. And if Aaron's Thor wasn't good, all these runs were actually really well written. So,
Mm-hmm.
And they honored like their predecessors. It wasn't like they just were like, oh, like Logan's not Wolverine anymore. I mean, obviously at that point they had like, killed him off. But the Thor story, you were really like, yeah, Jane Foster was the main Thor with Mjolnir, but you're still reading a story about Thor, Odin's son, and kind of how he's dealing with like the loss of the hammer and what does that mean for him. So, right, like it wasn't just like they were being like, yep, we're just gonna ignore regular Thor, and now it's Jane Foster, and we're gonna forget everything else. Like I felt it did a good job honoring it, and they even did it in Hawkeye.
yeah.
I mean, for the ones that they have done it, I mean, I don't know of any others, but the more recent ones, I feel like they've done a pretty good job of transitioning and honoring legacy.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it comes down to also that in nerd culture and geek culture and pop culture now, which is just all one giant thing, at this point, people hate to have their things taken away from them. And there's this sense of ownership of this is my thing. These are my characters, my heroes. What are you doing? You shouldn't take them away. So when people do that, they get pissy and they start doing 20-minute 20-minute rants on YouTube about bullshit that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
They're all made up stories.
They're fictional characters.
Right. These things don't exist. It's a fun hobby.
Right. So, and there's this sense of, no, don't take this away from me. But they were really, here's the thing, the stories were written well. That Jane Foster Thor run was actually pretty good. It was good stuff.
Really good.
I can't speak to the quality of the Remender Captain America Sam Wilson run because I never read it. I can't speak to that.
I haven't either.
He was on it like just for 6 issues. Like his when Sam took over as captain, Remender only wrote for a little bit. It was at that point that I think he was just done with big 2 books and he wanted to go do independent stuff, but but had already started that story and that transition. So Nick Spencer wrote a lot of Sam, or the majority of Sam, as Captain America.
That's really Nick Spencer's run. It's not really Remender. Remender had tapped out at that point. I'm pretty sure he was done. He didn't want to deal with Marvel anymore. So that stuff was good. It was really well done. I think the big issue was it was just too much at once. It was back to back. We're replacing all these characters with these new iterations, and we're trying to do a legacy thing. And it was a shock. It was like, whoa, it's too much. Way too much.
It was fine with me. I loved it.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the female Thor stuff. I fell off of Aaron's Thor run because it became too confusing because that's when they started doing the Marvel Now where every 6 issues they do a new number 1.
Oh, I know.
It was just a pain in the ass to keep up with.
I think Next, imagine earlier when he was saying about how Brubaker was originally going to have Bucky as Cap for like 3 to 4 years. It made me think, how often, whether it be like editorial or like or certain fans that just kind of like stomp their feet and say, oh no, Steve Rogers has to be Captain America, whatever, don't give the writers time to really develop the story, and people get a sense of like connect to the story, and you almost like do a disservice of just being like open to it and reading it. I mean, I'm sure that happens a lot, but
Those are the fans going crazy. I'm trying to. Where the hell is the IST? Geo's board is so difficult. But oh wait, I think I had something of IST up here because I need to talk about instocktrades.com. And all right, I'll do this. Instocktrades.com, where you can get your collected editions up to 65% off. Loyalty discounts add 2% to that. At the end of the month, we always give away a $50 gift card courtesy of InStock Trades for InStock Trades. $50 or more in an order gets you free shipping in the US of A. Fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging. That's InStockTrades.com. Wait, let's see. Well, okay, there's those guys. Yeah.
good.
So tonight, despite all the technical difficulties, I love this. I love this so much. Technical difficulties all whacked out of his skull. We need to thank our sponsor, InStockTrades.com. Thank you very much for being our sponsor. Thank you to Comics Guide, of course, for joining us. Thank you to the Winter Rick Nelson. Where can they find you? I know I follow you on Instagram. You have a couple of IGs, don't you?
Yeah, I have one, Rick's Rambling Reviews, where I'm actually starting to do reviews. I didn't do it for 2 years, and now actually doing it.
Awesome. And Lou, where can they find you on the internet?
Find me at Comics Guide 101 on Twitter and Comics Guide 101 on YouTube.
And next, Imaginaut, if you're still out there, that was an interesting 3-parter question you asked. If you could ask that on Monday, Lou will be here and we'll answer it then. And I'm Omnidog, Omnidog's Vault. Saturday at 8 p.m. I have Batterdays in the Batcave. This Batterdays, Taylor and I are going to talk about why the X-Men annoy us so much.
Oh, that'll be easy.
It'll be because they have 30 ongoing books a month.
You're on the right track. Those could be my opening words. And thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody watching afterwards. Please like, subscribe, and comment. We always answer comments. Most of the time we answer comments. And peace and love. Peace and love. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.